My mom asked me to pay for their new patio, so we can host family again. I paid in full, then found out I wasn't invited to the first dinner. It's just people who always support us, she said. So I called the contractor and canceled the final pour. Left it as a dirt patch. An hour into the event, guests were leaving. My mom showed up at my door furious. I let her shout until she lost her voice. Then I said, I didn't think I'd regret helping my mom with her plans. I really didn't. When she hinted at redoing the backyard so they could post family again, it sounded harmless enough. She wasn't asking for a second car or a vacation, just a new patio. And sure, her version of asking was sending me a contractor's estimate without a word of context. But that was her way. $5,000. That's what it came to. I paid it the same day she sent it. No questions, no conditions. Honestly, I thought she'd appreciate it. I figured maybe this would be one of those rare moments where she'd see me not just as a walking wallet, but as someone trying to contribute. She called me that night to say thanks, sounding more excited than I'd heard her in a while. She talked about how the family needed this, how the old patio made her feel ashamed every time people came over. She kept saying how now they could finally do things properly. I didn't even ask what that meant. I just hoped maybe I was finally part of the we in that sentence. The contractor started tearing things up the next week. They laid the base and prepped everything for the final pour. Mom sent pictures every day. First of the torn-out concrete, then the gravel base. She even called it our project once. That felt good to hear. Then 2 days before the work was supposed to be done, she let something slip. She said she was ironing tablecloths. I asked why. She said very casually, they were having a big dinner Friday night after the patio was finished. I was caught off guard. I said I'd come by with a bottle of wine, maybe see everyone again. That's when it shifted. She hesitated. Then she said it was just a small gathering. Only the people who always support us. She used that phrase like it was supposed to mean something. I didn't even know how to respond. I asked if I was one of those people. She said it wasn't personal, so I made it personal. That night, I called the contractor, told him to pause everything. Do not pour the concrete. Just stop. I'd cover the cost of the delay. Friday came. They had their dinner on dirt. Relatives started texting me pictures. Heels sinking into loose gravel. Folding chairs wobbling. People clearly uncomfortable. Some left early. One of my cousins sent me a message. LOL. Looks like your donation got stuck in the mail. My mom showed up at my place less than an hour into it. I didn't open the door right away. She rang 3 times, then started pounding. When I let her in, she didn't waste a second. She went off screaming, accusing me of sabotaging her plans, humiliating her in front of the whole family, calling me selfish. She wasn't making much sense by the end of it. I let her burn herself out. No interruptions, no reaction. When her voice gave out, I finally said, "You made it clear. It was only for the people who always support you." She stood there breathing heavy, staring at me like she didn't know who I was. Then she walked out. No goodbye, no apology. And for the first time, I wondered if helping her had actually been the worst decision I had made in years. I didn't expect to hear from her again. Not after the way she stormed out. I figured maybe I'd get the cold shoulder for a few months until she needed something again. But on the 4th day, she called. I didn't answer. She left no voicemail. Then she called again and again. By the 5th try, I picked up. I almost didn't recognize her tone. She wasn't angry. She sounded tired, like someone who had been crying for days, but hadn't actually processed anything. She didn't ask how I was. She just launched right into it. Said she was sorry, said she had reacted poorly, that the dinner was stressful, the planning overwhelming, and that she shouldn't have taken it out on the one person who actually helps. I waited listening. Then she said, "It's just hard for me. You don't know what it's like trying to keep everything together when people expect things from you all the time." That part stuck with me. She didn't cry, didn't beg. It was almost clinical, like she was reading off an emotional to-do list she drafted with my dad. I told her, okay, that I appreciated the call. She said she wanted to make it up to me, that if I wanted to, I could come by once the final pour was done and we'd have a proper dinner. Just the immediate family, just us. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. The next day, I rescheduled the concrete pour. The contractor was cool about it. Didn't charge me extra. I paid him for the rest of the work, told him to finish everything as originally planned. The patio came out looking great. Simple, clean, modern. My mom even texted me a photo with the caption, "It's finally coming together. Thank you." That was the last text I got from her for a while. About 2 weeks passed. I didn't hear anything. Then one of my cousins tagged me in a photo on Facebook. It was a backyard shot, fully finished. Not just the patio, but brand new patio furniture, a grill, planters, string lights, even a pergola that hadn't been in the original plans. It looked like a catalog spread. I was stunned. I never approved any of that. None of that was in the quote. Then I saw the comments under the post. My mom had replied to someone asking how they pulled it off so fast. She wrote, "We just decided to get it done. No more waiting on anyone." That phrase punched me in the chest. I scrolled through her profile and saw 3 more posts from that week. Photos of their new backyard sanctuary. One caption said, "Built with love by family for family." Another said, "It's amazing what you can accomplish when you do things yourself." No mention of me. Not even a hint that I had fronted the cost for everything. The next family gathering was at a cousin's house. I wasn't planning to go, but I showed up late just to avoid looking petty. I kept to myself, made small talk, stayed for maybe an hour. At one point, I walked past my mom in the kitchen. She was showing someone pictures of the new grill setup. She saw me, didn't flinch, and said, "Yeah, my daughter helped pick everything. She has great taste. So much better than those generic choices from before." Someone nearby turned to me and asked, "Wait, didn't you help with the patio?" My mom answered before I could say a word. "Oh, not really. He was just too busy. It's okay, though. He's got his own life." I didn't say a word. I left 10 minutes later without telling anyone. That night, I sent her a message. I didn't yell or accuse. I just said, "I don't appreciate being erased from something I paid for." She read it, didn't reply. 3 days later, I got a Venmo request from her. $82 for extra patio chairs. Smiley face. I declined it. Then she texted, "Don't worry about it. You've done enough." At the time, I thought she meant it sincerely, like she was trying to let me off the hook. I had no idea she was still using the money I sent for that project to finish everything, or that she and my dad had already wrapped up the upgrades and furnished the place without ever mentioning it to me. And I definitely didn't know she was going around telling people she and my sister did it all on their own. That part one found out later at a baby shower of all places. She was standing with a group of relatives proudly showing off photos of the completed space. Someone joked about how lucky she was to have such a supportive daughter. And that's when my mom said it. "Honestly, I don't need anything from Mason anymore. His sister's the one who really gets us." She said it like it was fact. Like I wasn't even there. And that's when I realized something. This wasn't just disrespect. This was betrayal. And it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I stopped answering her calls after that. No more texts. No small talk. I wasn't gonna fight about it. I just silently cut her off. I didn't even tell my dad. He was always her echo anyway. If she said the sky was green, he'd squint until it looked that way to him. A month passed. Then out of nowhere, my sister called. She never called. The last time we talked, she was asking if I could help cover rent while she transitioned out of a dead-end barista job into something more creative. I sent her 2 months' worth. Never heard a thank you, just a Venmo request 2 weeks later for groceries. I declined that one, too. We hadn't really spoken since. But now she was calling and I had a gut feeling something was wrong. I let it ring. She called again, then again. On the 4th try, I answered. She didn't even say hi. She said, "I'm at Mom and Dad's. I need help. I messed up." At first, I thought it was something medical. Then she said the word casino. Apparently, she'd gotten into online gambling. Started small. Went a few times. Thought she was good at it. She joined a group of friends who made bets, streamed poker tournaments, even taught her how to use crypto wallets. At first, it went okay. She was paying rent, bought a new phone, Sent my mom some flowers just because everyone thought she was finally turning her life around. She wasn't. Behind all that, she was losing more than she won. But instead of stopping, she doubled down. Then she borrowed, maxed out a card. Then another. She stopped paying rent, lied to her roommate, and when that blew up, she used the last of her money on a ticket back to our parents' place. She arrived with 2 duffel bags and an $11,000 debt. And now they were all sitting around their perfect backyard, wondering who was going to save them. I laughed. Not out loud, but in that cold, quiet way where it feels like the universe just handed you a chair and said, "Enjoy the show." 3 days later, there was a knock on my door. It was both of them. My mom, my dad, standing there like they were about to sell me a vacuum cleaner. They hadn't come to my place in years. They were dressed nice, too, like they just come from church. My mom even had a folder in her hand. I didn't invite them in. I just leaned on the doorway. She started with small talk, asked how work was, said the garden in my front yard was looking great. I didn't say anything. Then she sighed and said, "We need to talk about your sister." She told me the story like it was some tragic twist no one could have seen coming. Said she'd been so proud of her, that things were finally looking up. And now all of a sudden, she was drowning in debt. I asked what they wanted. She glanced at my dad, who nodded like they'd rehearsed it. And then she said, "We were hoping maybe you could help her just to get her out of this mess." I didn't say no. I didn't say anything. I let them keep talking. My mom started using words like temporary bridge loan, just a little boost. She said she knew I was doing well and that it wouldn't even be that big of a deal for me. She said it like she was reading from a script she'd used before. Then she made it worse. She said, "I know things got tense with the patio, but that's all behind us now. We're a family. We help each other." I almost asked her what she was referring to, but I didn't. Instead, I nodded like I was considering it. I told them I'd look into some options, maybe help her come up with a plan. My mom reached out and touched my arm. She said, "I knew you'd come through. You're always the one we can count on." That's when I knew they still didn't get it. They still thought I'd say yes because I always did. They still thought they were in control of the story. But this time, I was the one holding the pen and I had plans. I made them wait 5 days, didn't call, didn't text, just silence. On the 6th morning, I sent a message to my mom. "Come by this afternoon. I have some ideas." She replied within 2 minutes. "We'll be there at 3 o'clock. Thank you, Mason." At 2:55, they pulled into my driveway like they were arriving at a lawyer's office. My dad was in slacks and a polo. My mom had a binder this time, not just a folder. I watched them from my window for a full minute before opening the door. They walked in like people who were trying to be casual, but were scared to breathe wrong. We sat at the table. My mom placed the binder in front of me. Inside were printouts of bank statements, her notes on my sister's gambling losses, even screenshots of texts where my sister had begged friends for help. At the end, there was a handwritten budget. My mom tapped it and said, "Will you think she could pay you back within 2 years? Maybe less if she finds something steady." I asked what she had in mind for work. She blinked, then said, "She's open to anything, but she's creative. We want her to stay true to that side of herself." I nodded, flipped through the pages, took it seriously, even asked questions. I could see them getting hopeful. My mom even started to smile again. She offered me tea. Then I asked if my sister had made any effort to apologize to me directly. They both hesitated. My dad said, "She's ashamed." My mom added, "She's not perfect, but she's family and we can't just give up on her." I sat back, said I'd think about it, said I'd talk to a friend who worked in finance. See if there was a low-interest way to lend the money without it getting messy. My mom looked like she was about to cry. Happy tears. This time, she reached across the table and said, "You have no idea what this means to us." I did, actually. It meant they thought I was still the same guy who bailed them out with no strings attached. I wasn't. That night, my sister texted me for the first time in months. Just a single line. "I heard what you're doing. Thank you." No apology, no responsibility, just that. The next week, I sent my parents an update. Still exploring options, want to do this the right way. They responded with long, grateful messages telling me I was doing the right thing, that I was a blessing, that I was keeping the family together. And the whole time I gave them nothing, no transfers, no promises, just vague hope. The longer I dragged it out, the more they clung to the idea that I would save them. My mom started texting every couple days asking if I needed more info. My dad emailed me a PDF titled Debt Repayment Forecast Optimistic Scenario. It became pathetic and almost impressive. I was amazed how quickly they could flip the narrative once they believed the money was coming. My mom went back to calling me her rock. She even sent me a picture of the backyard one evening with the caption, "We're so lucky to have you." The same backyard she'd once told people I had nothing to do with. 2 weeks passed like this. Then I told them I had made a decision. I invited them back over. They brought dessert. My dad carried a bottle of wine. We sat down at the table again. My mom had tears in her eyes before I said a word. I looked at them and said, "I'm ready to help, but it has to be different this time." They nodded, eager. I said, "She's going to work for it." My mom looked confused. I said, "I found something. A side job that paid well. Didn't need a degree and would allow my sister to dig herself out the right way." I even said I'd help with the first payment once she showed me 2 weeks of completed work. They didn't like that part. My mom's face changed. My dad looked down at his hands. I asked if they had a better idea. They didn't. But I knew the moment they walked out they were furious. They thought they had one. But I'd already called my sister and she agreed. She would work. And for the first time in years, she was going to have to actually earn what she took. I didn't expect my sister to say yes. When I called her and explained the job, I fully expected attitude. Maybe some rant about how she wasn't meant for hard labor or didn't vibe with the setup. But she surprised me. She asked if it paid cash. I said it did. She asked how soon she could start. That same week, she got on a bus back to her city. No drama, no excuses. She called when she arrived, said she was staying at a friend's and would send proof once she got started. I braced for a lie, some fake screenshots or stage photos. But then she sent me a selfie. She was wearing a security guard uniform and holding a time card. That's when I knew she was serious. The job was boring, low risk, and beneath her self-proclaimed potential. But it paid well, and she could clock overtime on weekends. I'd helped a friend of mine at a property management company find someone for an overnight post at a quiet commercial site. No stress, just long hours, fluorescent lights, and no casino. 2 weeks in, she sent me her first paycheck, not a screenshot, a photo of the actual check in her hand. I wired her $500 the next morning. My mom texted me 4 hours later. "So proud of your sister. She's trying. You were right." That felt good for about 5 minutes. Then I got a call from my aunt. She asked if it was true. I said, "What?" She said, "That you finally gave your sister a loan after all the things she's been through. I'm glad your mom convinced you." That word, convinced. I didn't correct her. I just asked where she heard that. She said my mom told her and not just her. Apparently, at a recent family brunch, my mom gave this grand little speech about second chances and how we as parents never stopped believing in our daughter. She even said, "Sometimes it just takes a mother's touch to get everyone on the same page." No mention of me, no mention of the job, no mention of the conditions. It was like she had repackaged the entire situation as a Hallmark story where she was the guiding light and I was the obstacle she had to overcome. I wasn't mad. Not exactly more fascinated. It wasn't enough for her that I paid for the patio, or that I'd nearly handed over $11,000 to clean up someone else's mess. She had to rewrite it all so that she came out the hero. I didn't respond to her next 3 messages. Then that weekend I made a post, just one. No drama, no tagging, just a single photo of my sister in her uniform smiling standing in front of the building where she worked. Captioned it, "Proud of my sister. 2 weeks clean, working full-time, paying her way. She's earning every step of this on her own." 10 minutes later, she texted me asking why I posted it. I thought she was upset, but she wasn't. She thanked me, said she hadn't felt that proud in years. Then she added something that knocked me sideways. She said, "I think I needed to lose everything. And now finally, I get to earn something real." That night, my parents didn't call. The next day, still nothing. Then my mom sent one text, just one line. You could have talked to us before posting something so personal. I didn't respond because she didn't ask how her daughter was doing. She just didn't like that the narrative wasn't hers anymore. Took them 3 full days to break the silence. My dad called first, left a voicemail that sounded like he was reading from an old playbook. He said something about how families get off on the wrong foot sometimes, as if this whole thing was just a poorly worded dinner invitation gone sideways. Then my mom sent a message. We're really glad she's doing better. Just wish we could have been more involved. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. They weren't asking for information. They were asking for control of the story again. The version where they're the supportive parents, the wise ones, the reason anything good ever happens. But this wasn't their story anymore. Meanwhile, my sister just kept working. She took extra shifts, started reading budgeting blogs, even brought her lunch in a thermos instead of ordering food from apps like she used to. I watched her transform from someone who always looked for a shortcut into someone who had finally realized there wasn't one. And maybe for the first time in our lives, she stopped resenting me. We weren't friends. Exactly. Not yet. But she was talking to me like a human again. She even called me once just to ask what I thought about switching banks. 2 months in, she'd paid off nearly $1,300. Slowly but steadily chipping away at it. No excuses, no lies. I took her out to lunch on a Sunday. She showed up in a hoodie and jeans, hair pulled back, no makeup, and no pretending. She ordered the cheapest thing on the menu without even thinking. We sat there for an hour. It was the most honest conversation we'd had in 10 years. Somewhere in the middle of it, she told me our mom had been calling her every few days, not asking how she was doing, just reminding her to tell people how much they helped, how our guidance turned things around. My sister rolled her eyes and said, "It's weird. It's like she wants credit for your idea. Like, if she says it enough times, she'll start to believe it." Then she looked at me and said something I didn't expect. "I used to think you helped because you felt sorry for us. But now I think you just wanted to give me a real shot." I didn't say anything, just nodded. That night, my mom texted again, said they were making dinner and wanted me to come over. No pressure, just food. I went. When I walked in, the house was quiet. No binder on the table this time. No pitch, just plates, silverware, and a pot roast in the oven. We ate mostly in silence. My dad talked about the weather. My mom mentioned her neighbor's dog had puppies. Nothing serious. After dinner, as I stood to leave, my mom asked how my sister was doing. I gave her the full update. Her shifts, her payments, her apartment. She nodded, quiet. Then she said, "Thank you for not giving up on her." I looked at them both and said, "Don't thank me. She did the work." My mom looked down, then said it. "We were wrong about a lot of things, especially with you." No tears, no dramatic pause, just that. And for once, I believed her. Before I left, she asked if I could help her set up a PayPal account so she could send my sister a little money here and there. I laughed and told her I'd send a tutorial video. She smiled and said, "Maybe I'll figure it out myself." I doubted it, but I appreciated the effort. Driving home, I didn't feel angry or smug. I didn't feel anything heavy, just a strange, quiet peace. Like I'd finally stopped expecting them to be different than they were. And maybe that was the only way any of this ever got better. Not with some big reunion, not with anyone being saved, but with everyone finally standing on their own feet. For now, that was enough. But I'm keeping the receipts, just in case.